but they will just start moving randomly until they find somewhere that is dark. So that is kinesis. And then for taxis, it will be a directional one. An organism moves straight away from that source of light or from that source of the stimulus itself. So that's what we are calling the two kinds of simple instincts. We have talked about the kinesis, or rather orientations. These are the two different kinds of orientations. We have talked about the kinesis and the taxis. So in innate, we have classified innate behavior into kinds of categories: the simple instincts and the complex instincts. For the simple instincts, we talked about the reflexes and orientations. Now, when you look at the complex instincts, these ones are complex. You normally look at behavioral patterns like territoriality, biological rhythms. We can even look at courtship itself. We look at social hierarchies. We look at altruistic behaviors, altruism, altruistic behaviors. These are all complex instincts. When they say that Jesus died for us, that is an altruistic behavior. An organism dies for the rest or for the many to survive. That is an altruistic behavior, altruism. We can even look at kin selection. An organism sacrifices themselves such that other organisms of the same species, normally closely related organisms, to survive. It's like if someone comes at the home and decides to and wants to kill everyone, and maybe a parent says, "Take me instead, but leave other babies behind." That is kin selection itself. When you look at the wildlife, normally, if a pregnant mother, okay, not a pregnant mother, but if a deer that has a child, a predator comes and wants to take away the child, this mother or the parent can decide to sacrifice herself such that the child can survive. I've seen in these documentaries, hmm, a crocodile comes and wants to eat the child, and then the mother comes and fights, and the crocodile eats the parent, and the child survives. That is kin selection. So all these are complex instincts. It's an instinct. Why? Because the parent feels the danger. After feeling danger, they decide to sacrifice themselves for the rest to survive. That is instincts. Those are complex instincts. Then for territoriality, we shall see that we look at organisms defending their territory, defending territories so as to create space for mating, reproducing, having plenty of food, water, shelter, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, let us look at yeah, want us to look at these complex instincts. So when we look at these complex instincts, we can look at. I believe people have their pamphlets. There, if you have a pamphlet, you can open your pamphlet and you look at them. So we can look at motivation itself first. When you look at motivation, we look at a drive, hmm? A drive that that say a drive that modify or that pushes a behavior to come to completion. It is motivation. Hmm? That, that, that's what we call motivation. So for a behavior to come out or to be completed, it must be initiated. There must be something driving you. And that's what we are calling motivation. And when you look at some of the stimuli within the environment, they cannot be evoked by, uh, okay, we don't have the same response to a behavior. Okay, we may not have the same response to a stimulus. If a stimulus happens and organisms present have different motivation, then they might not have the same behavior towards that same specific stimulus. We normally have what we call the sign stimulus within the environment. The sign stimulus, they are like releasers. We normally look at things that drive a behavior. Let, let me look at in okay. Let me look at it in this way. When you look at primates, as I told you that females ones they are only receptive to copulation during their heat period. Mm? When females are on heat, that's when they will allow copulation to occur, and they can even produce pheromones. So that is motivation for copulation, mm? because they are in heat. So heat itself is like a motivator that I should learn copulate to ensure that I can have babies. But when these organisms are not on heat, they can never carry out copulation. Leave alone humans who do copulation for pleasure, but other organisms in the environment, in the world like there, the copulation they do is entirely for reproduction. And that's what was meant for copulation. So that's what we call that's what we call motivation. If you look at these pamphlets I gave you, we look at examples like hunger, mm, presence of food to a starved animal, we shall have a specific response. This animal will come and feed. But exposure of food to an animal that is satisfied, can we have the same behavior? We shall not have the same behavior. So we must have motivation itself mm, for a behavior to be evoked.
It's no, but I'm the boss.
When you look at these ducklings, normally they okay, we look at birds in the wildlife way. When a mother comes onto a nest that has those hatchlings, they will normally open their mouth wide open because they feel like food has come. So hunger itself is motivation for these ducklings to open their mouth. But for a chick of a hatchling that will have or that will be satisfied, they don't open its mouth. They won't open their mouth if they are hungry and they feel like the mother has come onto the nest. And actually, that's what we're calling a fixed action pattern. We shall look at the fixed action patterns actually anyway. So those are some of the characteristics of the innate behavior. It is inherited and not acquired. It is similar among organisms of the same species. It is sequential. The combination of activity results in the start of another. Then it is unintelligent. You don't need to learn it. You don't need to learn it. Do you have any questions, people? Do you have any questions? Okay. People are not asking. I think they are understanding this aspect. So that is the benefit with behavior. It's that yes, it might look so complex, but you have to understand the fact that it is simple. You just have to understand the concepts. It is like a logical thing. So we are looking at the complex instincts, and we have said that we are looking at normally motivation. The first thing that we have looked at is motivation. So for motivation, we have said that we are looking at a drive. If we look at the motivational stimulus or stimuli, look at a drive that normally bears an organism for an activity. As we have said, an organism that is in heat will be motivated to go and copulate. And for like now, motivation, that's kind of motivation. It is. Actually, you're going to make more research about that. We also have what we call a sign stimulus. A sign stimulus. I don't know if you've ever heard of a sign stimulus. When you look at a sign stimulus, we look at this. If I have a slide for a sign stimulus, yes, here. So these sign stimulus, they're like uh, they can okay modify. They are signals. Let us call them signals. They are signals that can modify a response or a behavior. A sign stimulus, they are like signals that can modify a behavior, that can change a behavior. We are looking at this slide here. We are looking at this male stickleback fish. It's called a male stickleback fish. They are the only ones. Okay, they are the ones that normally have red bellies. They normally have red bellies only when they are in the mating season. They only have red bellies when they're in the mating season. So when a male stickleback fish is in its territory and it sees another stickleback fish that has a red belly, it will be induced to produce an aggressive behavior and it will go and fight this other male. But if this male stickleback fish sees another male that has no red belly, then it will not fight. It will not fight. So it means that this red belly is a sign stimulus and it is a motivation either to fight or not to fight. So this red belly attracts a female. When these females see a red belly, they become elicited and they can carry out copulation with that male. So a male that has a red belly will attract a female, and a male that has no red belly will not attract a female. So whenever a male that has a red belly sees another male with a red belly, then it knows this is competition, and now they will have to fight. So that is what we call a sign stimulus. So we're looking at that kind of a signal that can modify or trigger a behavior. That's what we're calling a sign stimulus. Another books actually call it a key stimulus. So when you look at motivation, as we have said, the motivation, we can classify motivation under the three kinds of stimulus as actually we have seen here. The motivational stimuli, the releasing stimulus, and the terminating stimulus. As we have seen, the motivational stimulus is we can look at this stickleback fish. Actually, even when you look at these girls, we're having these hurling girls, they're like ducks, but for them, they have that red part or that red point patch on their beak. Normally, when they go, whenever that beak comes closer to the hatchlings, you realize that there is food coming, so they can normally beak around. It's like a sign stimulus that indicates the hatchlings that food has come, etc. So those are all sign stimulus. Even when you look at class, okay, if you are at school here and someone then blinks, okay, there's that way someone blinks with one eye. How is it called? Hmm? Someone, hmm? How is it called? Someone blinks with only one eye. It's like they are triggering you to do something. That's a sign stimulus. you may not know what to do, but when someone blinks using one eye, you feel like they want to do something. That's a sign stimulus. Someone has called it winking. Someone's asking when are we ending? Ending at 10:30. So as I've said, we have the motivational stimulus, we have the releasing stimulus, and then after we can have the terminating stimulus itself. So this terminating stimulus, in other words, when a behavior is being performed, there is a terminating stimulus that stops the behavior, that brings about completion of the behavior. That is the terminating stimulus. Let me hope we know what we call a stimulus, because I've been talking about the stimulus. We know what a stimulus is, that it change in the environment. It can either be internal or external. So the changes is that bring about completion of this behavior. For example, during courtship, what ends courtship? When you have when someone says yes, then stop courting them. Like you have stopped courting, but now you become like in a real relationship. When you're looking at a behavior of copulation, you're having sexual intercourse, and then someone finishes and like they have an orgasm or an ejaculation, that is a terminating stimulus. You cannot proceed after producing sperms. That is a terminating stimulus. When a bird builds a nest and finishes it, the sight of a completed nest will prevent further building of the nest. There is no need of continuing to build a nest when the nest is completed. So when a bird looks at a nest and it is done, it will stop. It will stop that thing. So these are all terminating stimuli. However much some behaviors don't have terminating stimuli, you will find someone who is already rich and they're still working so hard to become more rich. It means that now there is no terminating stimulus there. The behavior is continuous, and continuous. So, but in case there is a behavior that is terminated, then we can look at a terminating stimulus. Now, look at these perception patterns. They are under what we call they're under the complex instincts. They're under the complex instincts. Let me first rub these things people to understand. Let us try to ensure that we don't write on the screens, people. Okay. So I was talking about the fixed action patterns. These fixed patterns, they are also under the complex behavior, the innate behavioral series of actions triggered by a specific stimulus, where once they are initiated, the sequence is performed in its entirety, regardless of any changes. Okay, whatever they are trying to say that these fixed action patterns, they are behaviors that actually stereotyped. They are performed until they are completed themselves. They are unchanging. They are in unchangeable series of actions. That's why we are calling them innate actually inborn. So they cannot be changed. I've given some examples there, like the grey lag goose tax eggs. Okay, let me show you that slide. I think it's kind of here. Yes, here. So when you look at this duck here, whenever an egg rolls out of its nest and moves away, this duck will come and roll that egg into a what? Into its nest, back into its nest, and then you'll feel like this duck is very wise. But if you put a ball whose size resembles the eggs, this duck will still come and roll that ball into the nest. So then you'll say this is a very stupid duck. So this is a fixed action pattern. It's an unchangeable action. It's a behavior which cannot be which cannot be changed. That is what you're calling a fixed action pattern. So if you put there an egg, it will come and roll it. When you put there a ball that resembles the egg, it will come out. Even if you put the ball which is red, it will come and still roll that ball back into its nest. So that is it. Uh, we can even have other examples. I think I put them some of them here. Yes, we can look at some of other examples here. Males of a given species only become sensitive to pheromones from females of that species. It is a fixed action pattern. They are only fixed on only pheromones of females of that same species. They're saying a male stickleback fish attacks any male fish that enters their territory, and that is still an aggressive behavior evoked by a sign stimulus, and this sign stimulus is of a red belly. Then the herring gull, the chicks, as I've told you, there's that red spot on the beak, which is a sign stimulus. So whenever these hatchlings see it, they continue pecking because they feel like food has come. The nestlings also, when you look at during feeding, whenever the hatchlings feel like their mother has come onto the nest, they will open their mouth because they believe food has come. Even if the parent has come without food, these hatchlings will open their mouth. If you normally see that documentary, those documentaries, the hatchlings open their mouth and the mother normally puts food in their mouth. Yes. But even when the mother comes without food, these hatchlings will still open their mouth because they feel like food has come. So that is a fixed action pattern. It's a behavior that cannot be changed. It's a behavior that cannot be changed. It's a fixed action pattern. Another examples here, toads capture any flying or moving small-sized object or prey. So, and they can starve even if they are surrounded by dead insects. So it means that they are only triggered to feed if there is a moving insect. So they capture the moving insect, then they eat it. If there is a dead insect there, they cannot eat it because it's not moving. It's a fixed action pattern. It's a behavior is fixed and can only be performed if there are moving insects. If there are no moving insects, then there is no behavior. Actually, now that is the motivation itself. That is motivation. When there is a moving insect, these frogs, they are motivated to feed on that moving insect. But when there is no moving insect, then there is no motivation to feed. There is no motivation to feed. We can look at other examples there. Will go and make more research there. Then they asked some of these two questions here. What would be the evolutionary significance of these fixed action patterns? What would be the evolutionary significance of these fixed action patterns? And then, what is the evolutionary disadvantage of these fixed action patterns? Is there anyone who can tell us? It is unchangeable behaviors. What is their evolutionary importance and what is their evolutionary disadvantage? Organisms getting being fixed on pheromones of females of the same species. What is the economic importance?
Peter is dying. What? Pop, I am so sorry. I'm now going to stop mid-sentence because I see...
Anyone. Let us see some hands.
Stewie, Peter is dying. What? Pop, I am...
I feel like I've been the only person talking. What would be the significance of such behaviors? People, these answers are normally in your pamphlets. I even put those answers are in your pamphlets. At least someone should just dictate what's there.
Eric, what the hell you... Give me the ice. Eric, don't do it. I saw the look in his eyes. This guy is crazy. He's fucking crazy. Good. The crowd will love it, just like Rock When I Left. Don't understand. No, you don't understand, kid. I'm the best. This is just another chance for me to prove it.
Yes, Tyrant, you can unmute. Tyrant, you people, we're going to change some people's names.
One of these with his fucking legs.
So yes, good evening, good morning, members.
Yes, good morning.
Can he move like me?
So I think the significance of some of these behaviors, like the help in reproduction, in a way that
They help
they
in what?
enable in reproduction.
Mm.
Since some behaviors, are like the courtship dance. How to put it?
Okay. Tyrant is telling us that they are relevant in our reproduction. Okay. Evolutionary. How can you connect to that evolutionary part? Who can tell us? I'm seeing another hand. Yeah. Jado. I'm seeing Jado. Jado, you can unmute.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Significance of these fixed action patterns. They allow rapid automatic responses, vital situations without planning. They allow them to respond immediately to these the vital cues without needing time to learn the behavior. And it's essential for survival, such as feeding, defense, or maybe taking care of their young ones.
That is very true. When you look at these hatchlings, as I've told you, they open their mouth whenever their mother comes. So these organisms that open their mouth are going to get food. If you let open your mouth, you know you're not going to get food and you might die, you might starve. When you open your mouth, you get food. These are fixed action patterns. When a male smells the pheromones of the female, it means that we can have copulation. You're going to get a chance to pass on your genes to the next generation. And if you cannot smell these pheromones, it means that you're going to die without passing your genes to the next generation. That is the evolutionary. You have to put in that part of survival, reproduction. So thank you very much for that. Big Irwa, Darren Nayebali. I was seeing another hand. I don't know where it has disappeared. Is there? Is there? Can we have another person?
I'm about to see you in the silver dress.
Okay. So we are looking at survival first of all, as we have said. And someone has talked about the fast responses.
Your
Fast
Grace,
responses.
the bastard of Winterfell.
And we always say that they help in reproduction because organisms are triggered by pheromones
Bastard ass.
from females of the same species,
Don't say.
which promotes continuity itself.
Stop the bastard. Your mother was Lyanna Stark.
A moment.
Your father, your real father, was Rhaegar Targaryen. You've never been a bastard. You are Aegon Targaryen, true heir to the Iron Throne. Jon Snow thanks to very winning. He is the White Wolf, the king in the north.
Lois, I moved my whole family to Oregon when I was 13, and it taught me that a town's like a horse. You don't choose it, it chooses you. And I believe Quahog has chosen me, just like it chose my cousin Adam. Now, the last thing I want to do is take something from a woman. There's nothing I respect more than women.
Is that so?
Yes, sir. I've raised 16 daughters into strong, independent women. I'm a registered doula, and I always order edamame for the table.
Oh, my God. So, you're all alone up here, with no one to touch your sweaty bicep?
Man's never alone, Lois, so long as he has his principles.
Oh, thundering Lord.
Lois, can we keep it? I'll take care of it, I promise. Ah! Oh, he bit me! I don't like it now.
Lois, I moved my whole family to Oregon when I was 13, and it taught me that a town is like a horse. You don't choose it, it chooses you.
Okay, so we can also look at brood parasitism. You're going to make some research about brood parasitism. That is also a fixed action pattern. Some organisms actually kill their offspring. They remove them out of their nest if they see that these hatchlings they are underdeveloped or they look ugly. It's like a parent looking through their kid and then sees that this one is very small and tiny, then he throws you out to the latrine. That is like brood. Okay, when we look at also brood parasitism, we can look at rather actually animals that use other birds to reproduce. It's like someone najja nakusiba omwana n'omukuza nga gw'omanyi wuwo ng'ate omwana si wuwo. Like that is brood parasitism. A bird can come into one's nest, hatches, lays an egg there, then leaves. Such that when this parent, like the bird, comes, raises up this kid as if it is its own. There are two kinds of brood parasitism. I think, but the second one makes more meaning. You're going to make more research about that, and you will enrich yourself with more content. Okay. So we have biological rhythms. These biological rhythms are also other parts of complex instincts. Now we can divide them under those four categories: the circadian rhythms, the diurnal, ultradian, and then the circanio. These circanio can also be called the infradian rhythms. Circanio rhythms or infradian rhythms. Now the circadian rhythms, when you look at your pamphlets there, I said that you should have your pamphlets there for reference. You look at them as we explain. I'm seeing a hand. Tyrant, your hand is still up. Let me lower it. Okay, so I was saying that when you look at these circadian rhythms, when you look at biological rhythms, they can actually be first classified under two categories. We can have the internal and then the external rhythms. We can have rhythms that are controlled by internal factors like body temperature. And then we can have external rhythms controlled by factors outside the body. You can have factors controlled by rhythms controlled by factors outside the body. Like you can have daytime, nighttime, triggering you to sleep or wake up. So when you look at the circadian rhythm, we're normally looking at these rhythms whose periods range between 24 hours. That is the circadian. And they are controlled by internal factors. Internal factors. That is the endogenous ones. When you look at normally like people, you are normally told to, you are active. You are active. Anyway, let us look at the examples. Humans may not be. Because for us, we have normally factors that disturb us a lot. Someone can spend 24 hours driving, and then, okay, health-wise, someone might find out that you have lost sleep almost a whole day. But anyway, when you look at other animals like organisms, like we look at animals, they can be triggered to work. For example, when we look at honeybees, they're saying that they are most active during the day, but return to their nest or hives on the onset of darkness. You can never find a bee flying during the night because they are circadian rhythms. Within we can have the diurnal rhythms. These diurnal rhythms are also circadian actually. Diurnal rhythms are also circadian rhythms. However, they are synchronized by day and night light as they are trying to show there. So we can say that circadian and diurnal rhythms, they are all within a period of 24 hours. Even bats are active during night and they are resting or sleeping during the day within those 24-hour periods. Then for the ultradian rhythms, we can look at periods shorter than the 24 hours. That is the ultradian, like feeding. You can feed in the morning, you feed at lunch, you feed in the evening, you even feed at night before you sleep. These are periods or rhythms ranging between or shorter periods below 24 hours. Then for the circadian or the infradian, these ones go beyond a month, or they range between a month and over. That's why we are calling them circadian, like the menstrual periods in women, they take a whole month. Those are what we call the circadian rhythms. So in other words, circadian and then the diurnal, we can look at a rhythm that ranges between 24 hours. Biological rhythms, I'm saying biological rhythms that ranges between periods of 24 hours. Then the ultradian biological rhythms whose repetition can be done in a shorter period than the 24 hours. And then for circadian, we look at the biological rhythms that are repetitive for over a month or over a month, like the menstrual periods, even migrations, migratory birds. You can look at such rhythms. You can make more research about that. You get to know more about these biological rhythms. As I've said, they can be controlled by factors in the body, like body temperature, or factors outside the body, like light, winter, summer, inducing animals to either migrate or not. Body temperatures to bring about molting or not. We can look at what temperatures even outside to ensure that organisms hibernate or estivate. Those are all biological rhythms that can be controlled by either factors inside the body or factors outside the body. Then I wanted us to look at something else, but time is catching up on us. We look at
Before mommy.
Hey! No! No girls.
territoriality behavior. Territoriality. Organisms actually fight whenever it comes to territoriality. Organisms don't want to be,
When are you and your husband
how can I say it?
to start paying my
They don't want to be,
Daddy,
how can I say it?
before you kiss mommy, ask me.
It's called trespassing.
Mommy is mine.
Some properties you'll find out that trespassing is not allowed. They say no trespassing. They'll even put there K2 security. So to tell other people that if you trespass, there's a security that might attack you. Even animals in the wildlife area have territories. When you look at cats at home, sometimes they can even go on urinating on the doors. They are marking their territory. I'm the one who owns this territory. And they own anything within their territory, like females. They own the females, they own the food, they own the water. So that's what we call territoriality behavior itself. So here they're saying that a territory is an area of a habitat occupied by an individual or group of individuals, and it is defended from others of the same species. We cannot expect to find another male present in such an area. When you look at which animals do that show territoriality, we have looked at the cats themselves. They go on urinating, showing that this territory is mine. So someone's asking if you're copying these notes. I told you people we are summarizing these notes. We are not copying them, because you cannot copy that whole pamphlet. Just read it and you summarize it. Ensure that you can ably read your summary and get good scores in case a question comes and wants you to talk about it. So that's how a territory is. We're looking at an area of a habitat occupied by an individual. And we can also look at a group of individuals, and they're defending it from other organisms of the same species. We can have different reasons why organisms carry out territoriality. Why should organisms carry out territoriality? These are reasons why organisms carry out territoriality. Males are able to hold onto resources, means that they're not sharing them. Those resources are entirely theirs. Exclusive access to food, exclusive area for breeding, because females are present. All those females within there are only for that animal that is protecting the territory. Space for sexual display and courtship, spacing of animals avoids competition, etc., etc., reduces aggression or conflicts. Because if I'm in an area and it is mine and there is no any other competitor, there will be less aggression. Improves local knowledge of predator and resources, exclusive place to retreat and shelter, protection itself, among others. And then the disadvantages of territoriality, as you can see, they are saying that cost of defending territory includes risk of physical contact. So we can actually even, in case there is a conflict, organisms normally fight to the death. That is the advantage of territoriality. They can sustain injuries when trying to fight. Need to be vigilant for intruders. Organisms are always on the look for intruders. They might even fail to get time to carry out reproduction because they're always on the look. So that is one of the disadvantages. Defending territories can be time consuming, of which this time can actually be used for feeding or even looking for mates to reproduce. So the time spent on defending the territory will be much higher than the time spent on feeding and mating. That's bullet number 3. They're saying that a vocal and visual communication or territory ownership makes the individual prone, vulnerable to predation or prone to predation. Whenever this organism produces sounds that I'm protecting this territory, it's like an indicator that an organism should come and fight you. So whenever they make such sounds, they are always exposed to predators. So you're going to make more research about these things, and when we come back, I believe people will know what we shall be looking at. Look at other aspects of instinctive behavior, complex instinctive behavior. It's such that when I come, we can discuss more in details. I'll be leaving with some work, but not today. Just going to ensure that you read that pamphlet, you summarize it, and we shall start from there next time. I would like to thank you for joining us. We don't take it for granted, and we shall always be here teaching.
Let me teach you how to make this viral world.